All right, we are live. Welcome to another episode of Roasting Marshmallows. My name is Rolf Zuill and I am your host. So, way back in episode 13, we discussed mob programming, or also known as ensemble programming, with Woody Zuill. And while we think this topic deserves more widespread recognition and adoption, there's no denying that its older cousin, or relative, if you will, pair programming, is more well known and being done more across the industry. Of course, pairing is not limited to just programming, though. For example, studies have shown that kindergartners sharing an iPad enables them to learn more and score better on certain tests, most likely due to forcing them to collaborate, which in turn emphasizes communication and sharing alternative viewpoints. Collaboration and communication are the key words here, and increasing that will eventually yield significant benefits, such as increased quality, widespread knowledge, and improved morale. These things will all contribute to a higher productivity. So today, in the Roasting Marshmallows podcast here, we will be discussing the benefits, but also the drawbacks of pairing. So I'm joined today by actually 4 colleagues now. Like, this is going to be the first podcast that we're going to do with 5 people here. So it might end in pure chaos, but we'll see. So welcome, guys.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, Rolf.
Yo, yo, yo.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So how you guys doing?
Well, I hope it won't be complete chaos. Depends a bit on you, actually, but we shall see.
I'll try to keep you guys...
It tells more about the host than the
Yes.
guest.
Really? Am I going to... Well, I started this with kindergartners, so am I going to be,
You went for it.
the teacher that's going to keep you guys in check? Nah, I think it's going to be fine. So, Panche, you actually suggested talking about this topic because you and Sylvester actually paired together, right? On not something programming related, but definitely work related. And the experience was actually pretty good, right?
Well, let's come to the conclusion at the end.
That's me.
But
Okay.
the reason was I was more motivated. I kind of looked at some of the ways I had done a lot of work also in the past, and some of the ways of working we have had in like previous job positions. And one of the things that we came up then was wherever possible, always
He's out for
work,
you. Is he out for you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's out.
work in pairs.
Could you repeat that sentence,
I lost it all.
Panche?
No, I
Because
lost
you
it
seem
all
to
as
be
well.
lagging a bit. Oh, really?
So the wind
So
is
Storm
actually
Eunice is having more of an impact than we
Yeah.
thought. Rolf, we lost you.
Hello?
Trying to
Yeah, can
repeat Pansje. Pansje, we lost you before that.
All right, good start, man. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
for now.
Okay.
And now I think
So
Erik
maybe
is
we'll
lost.
skip Panche for now and see if he can resolve his connectivity issues here. So, Enrique, did you maybe have some good experience pairing, or was it horrible for you in the
No,
past?
I think, I think most of the experience I had with pairing, they were like pretty positive. It just took me 7 years to know that I was pairing wrong.
And why were you pairing wrong then? Because you were just sitting there doing nothing, or?
Exactly. I was sitting there observing,
Mhm.
and I don't think that's the most effective or better way of doing, or even the right way of doing pairing.
Mhm.
Or I was basically took over the control, took over everything, and just let people watch what I was doing.
Yeah.
And so I think this is the most ineffective way of how to do pairing. And then I can understand why people don't like it, because you
Yeah.
don't solve anything.
Yeah. Passive programming, really.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what is your
And
preferred
who do
way
you
then?
think? Yeah.
Yeah, that is the proper way, I guess, in my point of view, that the person who is in the keyboard should not do anything that the other person is not asking them to do it. And if you actually want to get your ideas through the computer, it should be, like Woody say, by someone else's hand.
Yeah, like described by
Basically
the
the smart input device.
Exactly.
But if you flip it around and say, like, okay, the guy at the keyboard is gonna just be like loud with everything that he's doing, like, okay, I'm gonna now start doing this, and then have a conversation while actually accepting input from the other as well. Do you think that would work?
No, I don't think so. I think it's very easy. You get on your own head, and then because it happened to me, you get like in a bug or in a problem, and then you start, oh, let me just try this, let just me try that, and then eventually the other person is just like, okay, and then you go in a lazy mode. I never seen it work myself.
Right. Yeah. Okay. And so, Panche, how is your connectivity now?
Check.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So, could you try again with the story about you and Sylvester pairing on something, and then you said like, okay, let's start with the conclusion.
Now let's come to the conclusion at the end of the story I said, because you asked if it was good or bad.
Okay. Yeah.
The whole idea about pairing, I think, came to me a few years ago, and at the time I was working as in a different role that I'm working now. I was coordinating a team of consultants, so people who were working as project managers, business analysts, or scrum masters, or product owners. And for a long time, what we did is we would start a project and have like one person kind of coordinate the whole thing. And it was up until a point that I was involved in one of the projects. Then I realized actually this is not really a good idea. I think I would really benefit from having one of my colleagues parallel next to me to kind of help me with, the blind spots that I have inherently and that we all have.
Yeah, man. So he really needs to put in the cable.
So can you imagine the pairing experience from my end? This was dreadful, man.
Yeah, was it? Was the connection bad for you? Yeah,
Man, I couldn't understand him.
Okay.
Neither
So
can
then I
you.
guess but then I guess it brings the question: does pairing work when the internet connection doesn't work remotely?
No.
As proven, no.
Yeah.
Thanks. That was an easy answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Panchi was trying to explain the benefits of pairing, and he came up with the drawbacks of pairing. So do you guys think there's more drawbacks of pairing? Because I think it's easy to talk about like the positive points, and because like a drawback that a lot of people say like, oh man, now I have to pay 2 programmers or 2 people to do a single job, and then that doubles the cost. Which I think is not really an argument, because if you do work together on something and you share the knowledge, and you probably are more productive with 2 people than you are with 2 single people. But how do you prove the increased productivity? Do you guys think there are metrics to be?
I think it starts with how do you prove how productive a single person is?
Yeah. Okay, but let's say, but because like of course we're not gonna go into the discussion about story points and all this stuff, but like because usually when you pair on stuff, I don't know, like does the velocity go up, or does the amount of bugs go down? Maybe like how do you track the effectiveness of pairing?
I have no idea,
Oh.
man.
It's just like how
I
you
think
track
it
the
depends if you are
effectiveness of
tracking
anything.
output or outcome.
Yeah, but you want to compare it, right? So you say like you need to track effectiveness, period, and then just compare single people working versus pairs working.
But then it's still, are you tracking output or are you tracking outcomes? Because if you're tracking output, sure, probably the single person is going to be faster.
Mm-hmm.
But does it matter what they are doing? So I would say it's like how in the past we compare productivity of software development by lines of code, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. You can write a full Bible on it and still deliver nothing.
Yeah.
And I think the comparison becomes hard because, in theory, if you compare output, I think one is going to be faster.
Yeah.
But that's my point of view.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
cannot
you,
prove
you
it.
could argue for, okay, we have no pull request or something, so you could say maybe your time between actually writing something and it going to the production becomes shorter, so maybe that's a metric, I could imagine, for pairing, because you don't need through all the manual steps.
Yeah.
But other than that,
Nobody has an answer, man. So Rolf, what is your answer?
Well, I think output indeed. What Enrique is saying is like, okay, is that a relevant metric or not? And while you could argue that outcome is a lot more relevant, but I think the dangers of that is that outcome is usually attributed to the entire company, rather than just 2 people working on like a feature or on something. And then it's really hard to say like, we have a single guy working on something, and then the outcome is this, and then it's all thanks to this guy that worked, or this pair that made it work. So I think it is okay to look at, like, let's say, the quality of the work produced, for example, and try to compare that. And the quality, like, how do you measure quality? Well, I mean, I think every company has their own ways of measuring it, be it good or bad. I don't know, but I think that's up to the company. So yeah, I think the amount of bugs, for example, tracked in the last 6 or 7 months, maybe, I don't know, is a good way to track the effectiveness, and also just like, yeah, how happy are you in your work? Because I find it a lot more enjoyable to pair with someone that is, it doesn't have to be someone that's better than me or just as good as me, and I don't even mind pairing with a junior, for example, and then teaching him or her something. But it is very enjoyable to work with a peer that is comparable, and you can have, an intelligent discussion on things that you're doing, and really, having the arguments like why you're doing something or why you should not do it, or the gaps that you're missing, and to me that is one of the most important things of pairing.
So I would argue you can also learn from the junior.
Yeah, and I think that's the hard part, to be honest. Because I paired a few times with a real junior, and then you go in the situation, well, if you want to do it the official way, right, you let him have the keyboard to be the smart input device, but you could debate if they are really the smart input device. And I think it's frustrating, right? You have to tell them, like, maybe even every line or every detail. How do you deal with that? Because I think it's frustrating.
Wow, I think you just have to learn how to be patient.
That's not my thing, man.
Well, no one says pairing has to take the entire day, right?
Exactly.
You could say, like, man, let's pair until, like, I don't know, from 9 to 11, just do 2 hours, and and then just accept that those 2 hours are for onboarding or for training, or to help someone else out, and hopefully you get something out of it as well.
And I think if I touch back what you said, Rolf, about the quality, at least with me, sometimes in the past, before I was doing, like, for example, test-driven development, I would write my code first and write the test later. And with the padding, somehow we always wrote the test. But if I was alone, sometimes I would not do it. But with padding, somehow there's this peer pressure of, we know we should do it, I'm watching you, let's do it. And then in the end, I believe my quality was higher. I can't prove it, but I believe so, because we had this, come on, man, let's take a shortcut. No, because in the end we're going to pay for it, so let's just do it right now. So I noticed myself that, we got better. And another thing that I noticed with myself was I didn't stay, like, in an analysis paralysis. Sometimes you just wonder, like, how should I do this code? How else should I do this code? And then you just keep thinking, and then with a pair, you just get unstuck much quicker.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest.
I'm not even talking about those bugs that you don't see a comma that takes you half day, and then with a pair, mostly it never really happened to me, but alone it happens countless times.
Yeah.
So you know those situations when you are stuck with a problem and you try to ask somebody to help you, and you're explaining the problem, and in the process of explanation you actually solve it yourself, and you're like, oh, never mind, I got it. So I think
Rubber ducking.
Yeah.
exactly. So that when you are actually working with another person, is it again broken, my connection?
No, you just have a little bit of a lag, it seems.
Yeah. And I like that people say rubber ducking, and you go, yeah, exactly. Sorry, weirdest episode ever.
Then you have a lot more chance of actual thinking, of putting your thoughts into words and figuring out these solutions when you're talking to somebody, instead of when you're talking to yourself while you're thinking that you're talking to yourself.
Yeah.
But then, like, maybe going back to the question that Rolf had, maybe now Pancho can actually answer, then, like, pair programming is mostly like a development thing, at least was somehow invented on it, or not, at least we know in our context. But how was it for you guys, you, Pancho and Sylvester, to work in a proposal and something that is not, per se, programming?
Okay. Well, for me, this is not the first time that I work with other people on non-programming activities. I think I've done it with, basically almost everybody here for a bit. With Arno, with Rolf, I've done it. I don't know with you if I've done it. But for me, it's generally you're talking to other people, and also it was experienced now with Sylvester. We both tend to catch different aspects of the things that people are saying. So I would pick up subtle things that are more interested in the domains, maybe for me on process or people's intentions in the background of how their emotions are, how they're speaking. And then Sylvester will pick up a lot more things on maybe the technical domain, or that for me would be not that interesting maybe at the moment. And then together we can put the puzzle. And that was, at least for me, it's been always beneficial to either confirm my thoughts with somebody else or somebody else covering my blind spots.
But did it make it better overall?
Oh, definitely.
Oh, yes, way better.
Oh, definitely.
Oh, we had our
And how
issues
did
in working together because you also. I think that's actually a challenge of starting to pair. It's intense, and you need to somehow sync up your communication or something, or you sync up your way of
you have to be
working.
nice,
and,
you mean.
Well, not really.
Sorry.
well, yes, but
Well,
Sorry,
it's not
Pascal,
about
you
being
say?
nice. It was not about being nice. It was about finding a way to talk to one another. Like Sylvester and I used to fight like twice a day in the beginning.
debate.
No, we
You
used
can
to
already
fight.
feel the tense of his voice.
But we haven't had that the last few weeks, and I think we learned. And that was one of the drawbacks in pairing is, oh, Jesus, I need to do this with this person who I cannot deal with that right now. So how do you guys deal with that when you're like, okay, I have to pair with somebody? Or do you just choose to pair with people that you gel with?
Well, depends on the case. I think most of the time, I don't think I have a lot of issues with like pairing with people. I can be quite, let's say, flexible, but I do have difficulties with what Arnold said as well, like pairing with somebody who is very slow. You know, it's more like if the brain doesn't sync, you know, you are like always like 3 steps ahead. That's a bit tiring, more than how to say, differences of personalities. I think that's okay.
Yeah.
And yeah, in the end, I stopped as soon as I'm tired, and then I'm kind of okay, man. I think it's better if we go different ways for the rest of the day.
I think that was our approach with Sylvester as well.
He was 3 steps behind all the time.
Not from his perspective.
But what's interesting to me is
Oh,
that
no.
you know,
Okay, we'll talk
when
about
you're
this later.
when you're building something, like when you're working on a product or something, you know, you get input from like a product owner or, you know, from a customer saying like, I want, you know, you guys got to build this, right? And then there's acceptance criteria, right? So it's pretty clear. Like you don't have a discussion usually about what it is, what you're building, and what the outcome is, while as, you know, you guys working on a proposal for a possible customer, you know, there's not really clear what the outcome is because you can help a customer in several different ways, right?
Mm-hmm.
So was there any discussion about that? Like, okay, what it is that we're going to be doing? And that might be, to me, the most difficult part here.
Actually, for me,
Do you wanna
I
do
think
this,
that's the part
Sylvester?
that
Okay.
organically grew. Yeah, I started.
Yeah, go ahead,
once.
Sylvester.
I'll wait for your leg to catch up. But I think this is a part that actually organically grew. While you're talking to people, while you're discussing things, you end up, okay, maybe this works, and you validate, and along the way, kind of like a plan comes together. That's the part that just worked. So,
If
sure
I
if
may,
Hans wants to.
if I may add something to this, Rolf, you said
Yep.
when a product owner or a client has a requirement, it's quite clear. Well, I wouldn't say that is always the case, because we had a lot of debates about what actually people meant when they said certain things, and how do we deal with our own presuppositions and our own assumptions about what people have meant when they said. And I think having 2 people in that conversation like really helps with this. And then we can negotiate with the 2 of us, and if it's not clear, then we say, okay, we need to ask this. Instead of going one person, oh, this is what I understood, I move with it. So this is what I mean more about the blind spots.
Yeah, and to be fair, I think a product owner or a customer should also be talking to the developer. It's not pairing per se, but I'm actually against, just write it down and then let's build it because this is what they want. No, but different story. Like estimations.
Different story. So if I go back to the pairing, right? Like one thing that at least I remember now that I found it sometimes hard is that you are trying some, I don't know, technical thing. You need to do a lot of Googling. You need to do a lot of experimenting because you just don't know how to do it. Those, I actually have serious difficulties with pairing because I prefer to do that by myself. I prefer to just open Google, try my own things. I don't like pairing in those conditions. Are you guys the same? Or?
Yep. Well, why is that? Because are you afraid to show like, hey, I don't know this? Are you afraid
No, it's just more because I'm more impatient. It's more my browser history, but it's mostly I'm impatient. I'm impatient of the process that is slow. I just want to try things very quick, and then it just feels like I would be much quicker if I could just do my way. Of course, that is not based on anything, but it's just this feeling that I have that like, okay, now I want to be by myself.
Yeah, I have better Googling skills than you.
Something like that.
Yeah. No, I have the same. So as soon as it becomes experimentation, you just start, okay, and then it kind of flows into, okay, we're both using laptops and our keyboards now to Google, and at some point merge back. I think
it's just because you have too many options, like you have just to have a lot, because you just don't know. Because if you are developing, you always have like maybe 2, 3, 4 options, and then you can debate it. But if you just don't know, they're like just too much.
Yeah, but you need to try them as well. So it's just that the process of trying, you say, hey, Google this, and then the person Googles, like, hey, copy this code, and the person is like trying to copy this code, and they, hey, let's paste this code. It's just like instructions for a trial that the person is like, okay, but why? And I don't know, it just feels wrong.
I think can I weigh in a bit? Maybe you guys can catch up with my lagginess. So how annoying is this to pair? So how annoying is to pair with somebody who has a lag?
Yeah, we asked this question when you had a lag, but that's okay. But I think it doesn't work.
But to the point that Enrique is raising, I think you're actually talking about two different aspects of collaborating. One is when you are actually creating something together that's engaging. But the other aspect when you're Googling, it's more the research part. And the research I can do that on my own. But the actual engaging part is when we put our thoughts and our ideas together to build something that has some results. So I think there probably is something to that.
I don't know, because like why the thing that I don't have any problems with that is to do that as a pair as well. Is because, I mean, it's always cool to have the solution and you have the commit and, you know, you have everything done and it's going to go to production. But the journey to get there, if it's a shared journey with a shared understanding, with multiple people saying like, okay, we tried this and we tried that and it worked or it didn't work. To me, that builds camaraderie because you've been through the trenches together with stuff that failed. And it builds a shared understanding and also maybe a shared sense of accomplishment, if that means anything. But I have no problems. Going on a little research journey together for sure.
You are definitely the nicest one among all of us.
And like even sometimes when I probably even think I know the answer and the other person starts Googling, I just wait it out, man, and wait till they come to the conclusion.
So much patience. Man.
Yeah, Zen. That's impressive.
You guys will have children. You should be patient as well.
No, man.
Maybe that's why we are not.
That feels like judgment, Rolf. You should be patient.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. You should be nothing. But it's definitely interesting to. I think it's interesting at least to see someone trying something and coming to a realization that maybe you've made months ago, and to really see the growth. I don't know. I think it's pretty cool.
So now to make the problem a bit more complex, right? So I had a talk with a colleague actually 2 days ago. We went after work, went to a bar, and we were talking about now this new sexual harassment scandals that are happening in Holland.
Are you pairing on that?
we are not pairing, but we are drinking, so you could say so. We are trying to clarify. But then he was talking about this thing that in the past he would, hug women or he would put their hand in their shoulders. But now, even though if they was fine both sides from both ways, now he doesn't feel like doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe my question is a bit weird, but like when you pair, do you actually touch the other person? Do you hug the other person? Do you?
I'm gonna start with
Does
a
make
bit
it-
weird. Yeah.
Yes, but I don't know. I'm just because he said he does this normally, and I'm like, I don't remember hugging anybody for pairing.
No.
Me
So I
neither,
just
man.
wonder.
No, sorry. Maybe if you have a huge success at the end, maybe, I don't know.
No rub bump, no high five, no.
A high five, maybe. Yeah, actually, yeah. I remember with Arno, when we did a form of extreme pairing, we both had a keyboard and both had a mouse, and that's actually a good tip to try.
Yeah, well,
That was brilliant.
Sounds like Arno, you have a different experience.
Answer my question first.
yeah, that was a bit messy.
So you guys don't do any there is no physical
Just to steal the
contact, right?
keyboard.
Contact. That's it. That's the maximum contact that you should expect from pairing.
Isn't that a cultural thing a little bit as well?
I'm Brazilian, and I can tell you that in Brazil we are very touched, but not that much.
Well, I mean, it depends also on the relationship you have with the other person. It's, yeah.
I hope
know.
so.
Should you? Probably. It depends also what it is that you're working on when you're pairing.
Let's just say coding.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. It depends how they're comfortable, what they are okay with, what you are okay with. Maybe they're touching you and you're not okay with them touching you.
Because actually, the reason I will ask this question is that I remember when I first read about pair programming and was in the book from Kent Beck about extreme programming, and I remember a picture of there is this guy sitting on the chair, leaning on the woman's side, and the woman is sitting half of the chair and half of her butt is outside of the chair. Like she's pushing herself out because the guy is getting too close, And then it's like, yeah. People have to be aware of this, right, when they are pairing, especially if they are not remote on face-to-face. And I found this something, maybe people don't notice, maybe they do, I don't know. But you guys ever experienced like this uncomfortable thing with maybe a guy stinks next to you, or his breath is horrible,
Yes.
or his
Really?
fingers are totally fat
not
with
me.
food?
Yes.
Do you
Okay,
say
I
to
mean-
them, hey guys, let's take a shower, or,
I mean,
or
I did
elaborate
have
this
one
story,
colleague
please?
that he was, hugely overweight, and he did have a bad smell sometimes, right? But he was a tester, and as a software engineer, I write my own tests, so I never really had to pair with him.
There.
Or that's a good reason to write your test.
Yeah.
Okay.
But other than that, no, the most annoying people that I had to pair with were people that just take zero. How do you say? Like when you make a suggestion and they just totally ignore it and go their own way. That is more annoying to me than someone that might skip shaving or skip showering. But like I said, I never had a hygiene problem with any of my pair partners. But did you, man? Like, I cannot imagine it. When you go to the office, everyone makes an effort. You put on some nice clothes, maybe, and then at least brush your teeth and some stuff like that. Right.
No, I never had that. It's more like indeed sometimes it just that the person gets too close, and then sometimes okay, do we need to be touching knees right now? I don't think so. So it's more like this,
So
too
you move
close of
the-
a contact.
You move the keyboard a bit over there.
Yeah, but then they keep coming, right? It's just like
Different problem, man.
I don't
Not
know.
including
I became
pairing.
Dutch, man.
So
No connection. That has
Then you stop pairing. It's simple.
yeah.
Yeah,
Did you guys ever
okay.
maybe
That's,
paired so much with a person that you don't I don't know, you just the other person programs exactly how you would as well, and I don't know, you basically it's like one person, you cannot tell the difference if maybe Arno made it or his pair partner made it. It's it's one and the same.
Yeah, like you stay, you
Yeah,
have the
and
flow together.
Yeah, the other guy might be
In a
you
way.
might be typing, and the other guy might just raise a finger, and then I already know what you're gonna say. Let me just fix this real quick for you. Is there any point in keeping to pair at that point?
Yes,
I
because
think
it's
this
fun.
is the dream. This is the dream, right? Like you find your perfect the pairing partner. And I do think somehow, as we do that, I think when we get into the flow, we can get to that flow actually quite quick. At least when I pair with you guys, and I paired mostly, I think, when my first week at Forest Scout, I had a job with Rolf, and then I was like, oh, this goes very quick. At least for me, I don't know how
junior
it for
man.
you.
Yeah, we heard stories, man.
No, it was pretty fun for sure.
Yeah, but hopefully, like whatever you end up with, the style of programming is a result of both people contributing to it. So there has been growth on both parties in coming up with that form of programming.
But I don't think it's just about the style of program. It's more about how do you connect and how fast can you think. Are you thinking at the same speed or in the same direction, same background? I don't know. There's lots to it that makes it. It's way to explain. But yeah, well, flow is probably the best definition. You just get into this flow where you say something and you kind of are in the same vibe or something.
I think that goes
brilliant.
back to
So-
the seniority of people, to be honest. Because if you
Maybe.
are working with juniors, then it's more about how to write the if statement or how to do something. The more senior people you have, the more it goes about, okay, what are you actually trying to solve and why would you go down that path? And then that discussion goes that way.
So
Is
then
it
the
my
question would be, if you, with your standard pairing partner, reach a point where you're like reading your thoughts, and I can imagine it feels like, oh, we're in the zone. Isn't that the time to try to find another pairing partner? Because if you both think the same way, if you both code the same way, then you're probably both not seeing the same things.
That's what I was trying to suggest. Yeah.
Yeah, we're both having the same blind spot. Yeah, and I think it's like I remember this Brazilian beach volleyball, and they were winning everything for years, and at some point they're like, yeah, let's split because it became boring. And I guess it's kind of the same thing. You split your pair, like
To up the
let's
challenge a bit,
let's
yeah.
spice things up.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I still don't think it's in the coding style or whatever. It's the fact that two people are looking at things, and yeah, you might be in a flow and you might be thinking the same things, but still, it's about noticing the subtle differences, or someone even the act of raising the finger. Hey, I want to say this. That's enough to trigger you to think, okay, what did I miss? What did I not see?
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think it matters.
Yeah, but I think this coding style, I agree. But I think the coding style can also be decremental. Like in the sense, I used to pair with this other guy, colleague of us a long time ago, and if I would press one enter too much, he would stop me like, "Hey, you press one enter too much," and I'm like, "Come on, man, this enter is not gonna help."
Yeah, I've been
You know,
there
and
as
you're
well.
like,
But okay.
If this is the type of or let's say, oh no, your ID uses spaces not tabs, or not tabs versus spaces, or oh my goodness, your finger's on the left. It's like, and I think this is a very and maybe that's what Arno said. Like if you pair with junior, this is mostly the discussions, and then when you go to senior, they care less. But don't be that guy.
Not necessarily. I also met seniors that act in that
So
way.
do you guys think that there are problems or things that are just too trivial to be handled by a pair? Because like any way you cut it, a pair might add some complexity, right? Because you're gonna say like, okay, how we're gonna tackle this problem, we're gonna have a discussion. You know, one guy's gonna drive, the other guy is gonna be the navigator. Oh, we need to write a test. Maybe we need to write an integration test for this because it's the right thing to do, right? And you don't want to lose face for your colleague, I guess. So do you think it overcomplicates stuff maybe sometimes?
That's a good question.
Like, for example,
There are some simple things, adding a controller with a new API method or something.
yeah, let's say you get a request like, hey, we have a banner here, and this banner needs to be red instead of blue. Are you going to pair?
Yeah, I will pair on that because you can have a lot of discussion on what is red.
And if you're colorblind, you also want a second pair of eyes.
I need a pair of them.
The thing is, I think especially maybe even the simple things, those are the dangerous things, right? Those are where you tend to just, well, I do this every time. It's fine. So maybe
Yeah, but like I
that's-
wonder.
yeah.
Go Puncher.
So it feels like we're trying to build a case that like you should pair for every single thing that you
I'm
do.
just
and I think
asking.
now Rolf is challenging that presupposition. And I want to say, yes, there are things that you shouldn't pair on, and I know there are, but I'm kind of having difficulty coming up with one. But like one that came up is, I was trying to, what is it now, figure out how to render the videos for, I don't know, for the podcast that we're now recording. It's like, is that a pairing job? Yeah, I don't think so.
Yes.
I think
Yes.
it has to
Because
do
you
more
did it
with.
wrong.
I think it. Oh yeah, sure. I think it has to do more with the nature of a job. If it's a more complex type of work, that you are. That it's not always really deterministic of what the outcome is or should be. It probably is useful to have more than one brain looking at it.
Yep. And
If it's a simple matter of completing things, I think that's what you're saying. So, I don't know, move pencil from here to there. No, you don't need to pair on that.
Unless it's a very heavy pen,
Or the pen is at
then
the
you
wrong
need your
place.
people.
Yeah, so so the knowledge work, yeah, that makes sense to pair on.
yeah, might be.
Are you
Yeah,
guys
we're
picking
hearing
up on
a
the
storm.
sound?
It's fine.
No,
Okay.
yeah,
But
there's a
sorry
huge
about
storm
that.
here.
another thing I was wondering, right? So you have indeed like super simple tasks that you can have a debate on whether you should pair on it or not. But do you also, because sometimes how I feel is that, okay, you come, like let's say you go into the office, it's 9 o'clock, and you pair with someone until lunch, and then after lunch you pair until like 5 o'clock. So your brain is going to be on the entire day. While as you're alone, I mean, you probably shouldn't, but everyone does it, right? You're going to Google something, you might go get some extra coffee.
I think what Rolf is trying to say, because I lost him, I'm not sure about you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're
Sure.
blaming it on Eunice, by the way. But I think what you're trying to say is should you take a break or something? I think this speaks from mobbing. So instead of pairing, just mob with the whole team. So if you feel overloaded or whatever, you just split ways and go do something else. But the team can continue.
Yep.
So since I learned about mobbing, pairing to me is kind of like, first step, but why not do the whole way?
Well, I think the reason is exactly that it is heavy. You need to really face your fears, your insecurities. You need to expose yourself. You need to learn how to become better at yourself, better at communicating, better at accepting the differences. You need to become a better person. I think it's it's hard. And in the beginning, it requires a lot of energy, a lot of effort, and then it gets easier, and I think the outcome is better. But I think the entering point can be hard if you've done working alone for too long. But in the end of the day, I think you definitely get a more energy that you finish your day like, okay, I'm tired, but I feel actually we did something. Not like I'm full of energy and I felt my day was useless. So I think I prefer have the other one. I'm tired, but I felt like we achieved something today, than not feeling tired and just like, fuck, what did I do?
No.
Yeah, from a team perspective, if there's single persons working on something, just alone, what happens if they get sick? It makes sense to pair on certain things.
For the knowledge sharing, breaking
Yeah.
down the silos. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For the onboarding as well, I think it makes a great onboarding experience. If you're new in a team and you just pair with someone from day one, I think that's the best way to be introduced to a new team. So for sure, that makes a lot of sense to me as well.
It's better than
So
getting
how-
the link to the documentation portal,
Right.
because you know it's not up to date and you're just there.
Yeah, or you're
sure,
gonna get
I
some
can
shitty
read this.
bug that has been like in backlog for 6 years. Like, oh, you can start on this because it's super easy and no one bothered to fix it. But you can take it because then you get familiar with everything. It's like, come on, man. But it happens, you know. Yep.
A lot.
So yeah, we've been talking a lot about the pros and the cons. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Arno. Do you wanna? Oh, Pancho was it? Sorry,
it's Pancho.
I wasn't
Pancho.
looking.
Oh, look at me. So, how would you, let's say, you go and work for within a team or a client that has never used this? How would you introduce pairing, or how would you try to convince is maybe a hard word, but to get them curious about trying it? And maybe especially environments where they are maybe heavily controlled. So it's like where people are sometimes perceived as resources. It's like, how do you build a case that two people working on one thing is more beneficial than everybody working on individual tasks?
finishing one thing is better than working on 10 things.
Is it?
And you tend to finish it sooner if you're working on it with more people, because you can think from different aspects, you can create higher quality, so it's actually finished.
I don't know, like in the end, because that's also one of my question. What if you are one of these engineers who like to over-engineering thing, and then you are pairing with a guy who also like over-engineering thing, and then you are pairing for 2 weeks over-engineering things, because I have seen that, and then you get nothing done. So I agree that in general I get definitely more done pairing, but I can imagine a situation that you get a bad combo that over-engineering the whole product. But I think I would propose. I would bring a ring. I would kneel it. Do you want to pair with me today? And
I want to see this, man.
and then I would.
Awesome.
I always invite first. I always invite first, and then I ask, "Come on, let's just try." And yeah, that's how I think you should do it. You don't need per se to explain. You should just say, "I wanted to try
What's
this."
the worst that could happen?
Yeah.
Indeed,
Let's
just
do
give
it.
it a go. Yeah, but
Exactly.
And I also just did it.
The worst is
Did it-
no.
I also did
They
just
say
do
no.
it a few times. When I was just a new customer, I just sat next to them.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Nobody
Yeah.
asks, you know. You just, I don't know. With the remote work,
Yeah.
it might be a bit hard, but
No, and in the end, right? If they say like, "Hey, you guys are wasting time," you just say you are in a meeting.
yeah,
Then it's okay. Nobody's gonna complain.
exactly.
That's a good pro tip for every listener. If you want to try it, just like call it a meeting.
Exactly. Don't call per program. Say we are in a meeting the whole day,
Go to a different
and
room.
yeah, we're gonna talk to you tomorrow.
do you guys think companies should enforce pair programming? Say like, okay, you guys have to do it at least with 2.
No.
Okay, so why not? If it's so
There's no point in
awesome, if it's so
enforcing
good, what's so bad about enforcing it?
I think you need to want to do it, otherwise there's no point. Or you need to see the benefits or whatever.
Yeah, man. It's like I was going to make a very bad joke. Like when you are forced to get married, right? It doesn't work.
Well,
You need to
there are
want
all
it.
cultures who disagree, man.
And true. So maybe Rolf has a point. Maybe you should force it. I don't know. I think it's a point to explore, but I don't think out of my head, like I don't think you should
Okay,
force
so
it.
maybe
but,
not force because that's a bit
maybe
too
we
much
should
command and
run an
control. But what
experiment.
if you incentivize it somehow? Like people who pair get a bonus at the end of the month.
That would be
You get
interesting.
double pay. Oh, that makes sense actually.
Yeah,
I don't think any company
I
would
don't
be
know,
willing
man.
to do that. I'm paying already 2 developers to do the job of 1, and you get a bonus if you do it.
Yeah, but you get twice the
exactly,
quality.
man. The productivity goes through the roof.
Which you cannot measure.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Yeah. Food for thought. I don't know.
no, I wouldn't enforce it. I would describe it why it's important, or if things break down or something, mention, hey,
Yeah.
why didn't you pair on this? Yeah,
Well,
But it is kind of
definitely
hard, right?
promote
Some
it.
people are doing it. Yeah, some people are just doing it, and then they really they try for a week, and then they say it's too tiring, and then they stop it. You know, if you enforce it, you know, well, we think the quality goes up, but what's the boundary
Yeah.
there?
I do get it. It can be tiring, but then maybe there's also something wrong in the team. If it's too tiring to work with your colleagues in the team,
I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm gonna ask a question now. How did you feel about pairing with Panche? You know, 2 fights a day. This was without the whole
Something is
day.
wrong with your team.
no, there was nothing wrong with the team. We had different points of view. Exactly,
Yeah, the whole
absolutely.
day?
But yeah, we
No,
didn't
but that's-
understand
that's
each
the
other.
thing.
So we had to. See, we have
We
the
had
same
to
problem
go
now.
through
He's
it.
lagging and
But then you go back to the previous point. You have to go through it, and then you get aligned. But then you should search a new pair.
Not necessarily.
Yeah, it's never ending. Is this constant flow of changing pairs and getting better and growing
Yeah.
together? It never ends. It's not like there is no end goal.
no, but I'm not
It's
sure
just like-
if the goal is to become the greatest pair ever and then find a new pair. It's more about delivering the greatest work.
Yeah, but should you force
Yes.
it?
So
Why not? Why not force it then?
Because we had a podcast about command and control, and we're against command and control. So I think if enforcing,
Exactly.
it's like, yeah, you're doing Scrum. Why?
like, even if I were to be the biggest advocate of pair programming in the world, if I had a manager that says like you have to pair program here, all right, man, I'm gonna go solo here, man. I'm a rebel.
Or I'm gonna pair, and I'm just gonna sit there, because then I'm proving my point. So I don't think there's a point.
Yeah.
Because
And
just
actually
like
pairing with Panzer,
any
because right now it seems really bad, but we had to align our thinking and our communication style and kind of like, okay, how does this work? Because if I said something, well, we all had a few episodes back, we had this example of Panzer actually leaving the meeting table, and we're all like, what? And to him that was normal. So we and I'm pretty sure he had a few thoughts about me as well, but it's taking him too long to respond, so I'm just continuing. But I think that's what you need to learn. Okay, if I say this, then he reacts like this, and then I spend 2 days thinking, okay, is he now being, is he simply wrong, or am I doing something? And in the end, it triggers something, and so you get closer and you understand. And in the end, I have to say, it worked brilliantly. We knew what the client was thinking, and yeah, we went to meetings, and sometimes I would know more about the background, and I started asking questions. And I see Pansy thinking, all of a sudden, I'm asking this. I'm like, ooh, didn't think of that.
Yeah.
Let's see. So it works. Sorry, Pansy. I'm trying to include you in this conversation, but I honestly think we have a 5-second lag or something.
it doesn't sound like you are, but good effort.
So the final subject I'd like to touch on is like tools that can help people pair, because we're still working from home most of the time. So do you guys have any preferred ways of pairing with someone else? Is that like just hang out in a Google Meet, or might it be something more sophisticated like Code with Me that IntelliJ now has? I don't know. Do you guys, like, for example, Panche and Sylvester, you guys collaborated using Miro, I think. So
Yep. They changed the UI. That's so wrong, though.
So you guys think that worked better than if you were, like, let's say, in an office together with a whiteboard? I'm guessing not, right?
No, definitely not.
No. We
No, at some
spent a day in
point,
an
Pansy
office
actually
in
said-
front of whiteboard, and actually that worked really, really, really well. So
I seem to remember you also started drawing on your own whiteboard one evening.
Yeah.
yeah, but
So,
that's I think mostly me. When I sketch out stories, I'd rather do them in a physical world instead of a screen.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. Any other tools that you guys would like to recommend here? Screen.
Yeah, I actually used a lot CoScreen with a few people, but of course depends on the organization. But I liked a lot, but I just saw that they got acquired, so
Right.
I don't know if they still accept people. And yeah, unfortunately I have to use Teams, but it does get the job done. And I think in general every tool works as long as both
Yeah.
parts are interested to make it happen. But I would say, if you're starting with it, yeah, it's nice to have already like some experience with the tooling,
Yeah.
because otherwise, just the entering point is
Yeah.
a bit too much of a friction.
But I do think the tools are still a bit limited, to be honest. I use Code with Me
Yeah.
and also the Viasco Live Share. And it seems like you're in the editor, but sometimes some things just don't
Yeah.
really work. Like import something, it just doesn't work. Sometimes it does. And so you are the client, let's say, of the host, and it's still a bit.
Yeah, it's
friction.
definitely not seamless. I agree. Like, I use Code with Me a lot, and
No.
I don't know how, but then, when you're typing and you're a client, then all of a sudden you're typing multiple characters with one stroke, or, the host did
Yeah.
not give you access to a certain feature, so then you cannot do anything either. So it's definitely still in its early stages, I think. All right, so, yeah.
I think
Go ahead, Sylvester.
No, go. A while back, I think we used actually just Whereby, just
Oh, I
screen
forgot
sharing.
about that. Whereby. Yeah.
Also did a trick.
Yeah, man, there's a lot of tools out there.
Yeah.
So, final thoughts about pairing.
Yeah.
Should you do it, or should you do it? Should you not do it? I don't know. What's your final thought?
I think you should do it, but not all the time.
Sylvester.
No, you should
mob
not.
instead of pairing. Yeah. All right. Makes sense. Panche?
Definitely. It was also even a tip from Chris Voss when negotiating all kinds of deals for FBI. He always had a backup negotiator that was keep his blind
Yep.
side.
All right.
So
So, Henrik?
Yeah, all the way, and then of course if you can mob, you mob. If you cannot, you pair it, and then if you cannot, you should take a break. But I don't think you should work alone.
And I concur with that last one. Well, with most people here, of course, everyone. I think you should just pair. I think it makes sense for 99% of the things that you're doing on a day-to-day basis. If you're working in IT, probably even 100%. So just go pair, or even better, go ahead and mob. But pairing might be a bit easier to convince people to give a try because the opportunity cost is a lot lower. All right, I think that wraps it up for today's episode. You guys have any final thing to add, or should we wrap it up here? Yeah. All right. So
Sounds
I want to thank the listener. We're here at the Eugene Storm, I think the name is. So the connection has been a bit rough for today because, storm and I don't know, man, like maybe some cables is going to be damaged here. It's code orange, man. You never know. So I hope you guys listened through the episode. If you did, thank you a lot. We appreciate it. And send us a comment or, email to podcast@4scouts.nl or reach out on Twitter @4scouts. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks again and bye-bye.